Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Two Average Brown Rose podcast. I'm your host, Prashank.
And I'm your host, Andres.
Today is May 3rd, 2021. Andres, what's up, bud?
Man, we're already in May, the fifth month of the year. How has 2021 flies by so fast? I don't know. But so far, so good. How are you doing, Brishang?
Yeah, it seems like time, like we say, I know we say this quite often, but time is really flying by. And the fact we're just, staying at home and working or, doing stuff on our own, not really getting to travel or anything, even then, time has just flown by. And it really confuses me because I feel like we haven't done much, but we're so far into our podcast already, right? I think this is the eighth episode.
Yeah, it's just been flying by. And honestly, I don't know. There's days that it seems so stagnant, but when I look at the overall picture of the year, I'm just like, we're almost halfway there. Okay.
I mean, the only good thing is that the weather is finally getting better after, we had snow a couple weeks ago and then a little bit of rain here and there, which rain, I honestly don't mind. Rain, I love rain. I love sleeping in during thunderstorms. But as long as the weather is above 15, 20 degrees Celsius, I'm perfectly happy with summer.
Hey, I'm also happy with the weather. But I don't know how you sleep with thunderstorms. If there's something I'm a little bit scared of, or I don't mind a heavy rain. I actually love the scent and the smell that comes with heavy rain. But when there's a thunderstorm, I will actually wake up and I will need to chill and calm down because I cannot sleep with thunderstorms.
Oh, for me, I love thunderstorms. I don't know. It is scary at times, but just like in the distance, thunder cracking and the rain falling on the ground. I love that. It's like the most calming sound ever.
Yeah, no, thank you. You can have all of that.
So, what's something interesting that you learned this past week, Andres?
What is something interesting that I learned? That is a very good question, Brashank. One interesting thing I learned. So apparently it's election time back in Mexico. I was not aware that that was happening. Until my younger brother started posting back again. He's involved in politics now again. Like on his free time. So apparently campaigns have launched now for different positions at the local, state and federal level. So, it's probably time to see if I can vote from abroad. I know at least when it was our presidential elections a couple of years ago, I was able to vote for every single thing that I could at the federal level, but I couldn't vote at the local or state level, which it's all right. I made my peace with the fact that I was not able to do that. So back again into investigating how I will be able to vote, because I'm not risking myself to go travel just to vote. But just trying to learn about what people's campaigns are now, what they're advocating for, and just mentally preparing for the drama that comes with it, within the family. Everyone has their own political views, which I completely respect, but there from time to time there are arguments that are not sane and have no logic, and I like to call them out. And same with our friend group, my tight friend group. There's a couple of times that there's a little bit of political differences. Once again, I respect everyone's point of view, but when an argument is not sound or has no basis or logic, I will look it. I will call it out, because you know, if you're having that conversation with me, you should be ready to expect an answer. From a well informed answer. So that's something I'm very interested in. Let's see how it goes. As you know, in Mexico being a developing country, things can get really messy with politics. So we'll see also what dirt comes out from the politicians that are running.
Yeah, politics is always fun and games until it's not, right?
Exactly. At first it's very tame, but as close as you're getting to election day, they just start getting messy and things start coming out. I was like, ooh, you really were hiding that. So we'll see. I'm pretty sure my brother will keep me posted on how things are going, at the actual campaign level and what the different parties are doing. But right now, at least for my friend group and people around my same age and same socioeconomical level and all of that, a lot of us are thinking that it is time to take away the majority out of like the political party that the president is part of. Just because in the past, I think we're 2021, so yeah, it's been 3 years into his time as a president, and there has been no changes, and actually it's been pretty horrible uh, in terms of that. So people are now trying to say like to take back our chamber of representatives back to like to be either like split within the parties, or like at least take away the majority out of that party, because there's just something different. But that's what's gonna happen back home. I don't even know when election day is, so I'll have to look into that. How about you, Brishang? What's something you learned this week?
So for me, one of the cool things I learned, um, as you know, Michael Collins, the third astronaut on the Apollo 11, passed away.
Mm-hmm.
Him alongside Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, they're some of the first people to walk on the moon. But the interesting thing was Michael Collins actually, he never walked on the moon. So when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were actually doing the moon mission, Michael Collins had to stay in one of the ships, I guess, Columbia. He had to stay in the rocket, or I don't know if it's called the rocket ship or the orbiter, I guess, the lunar orbiter. He had to stay inside there to make sure, as a backup plan, pretty much, if the other two would either fail or succeed the mission, he had to sit there and wait it out pretty much as he, rounded the moon in his lunar orbiter.
Mm-hmm.
And which was pretty interesting to read about because, he was alone. Because, like, while Neil and Buzz were doing their thing on the moon, there was Michael just sitting on this floating spaceship going around and around the moon waiting to see what happens, right? He was, well, if they succeeded, he'd obviously, which they did, and they would come back and, go back to Earth. But if they failed, he'd have to leave them behind and, take the long journey home by himself. So, and I was reading into that, and then apparently Collins, like, when he was alone in his orbiter, he never actually felt lonely because he knew there was like so much cool things happening at once, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
So when I read into the different lunar missions and things like that, it was pretty interesting to see how, astronauts and even back home, if they don't fully go out of space, even the ones that train on Earth and stuff, it's pretty cool to see how they have to be not just like physically healthy, but mentally healthy as well. We talk about mental health so much, but I think being an astronaut is one of the toughest jobs out there, just because not only you have to be so fit to go to a whole new planet or, a whole new moon, I guess, for in the Apollo 11's case, but you have to be mentally fit to leave your family behind, for it could be forever,
Yeah.
or even like the ISS, people who go to the International Space Station, they're there for months, years sometimes, and you're cooped up in this small little station for, months and days and weeks, and you don't know what's going to happen, and you're relying so much on science, and it's made it this far, so it's pretty cool to see. I don't think, as cool as it would be, I don't think I could do that, like one either like spaceship or even like submarines, being the idea of being cooped up in a small place in either high altitude or low below the sea level, that scares me. But I think what we can learn from Earth is there's so many cool things, and we don't need to be up there to see it in person, especially with nowadays with technology. We go on YouTube and you can see everything they've been seeing in space, right?
Yes. Oh, that's so interesting, but I'm okay seeing space from down here.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was really cool. I read into the Michael Collins and his life, and I think astronomy, and like all this cool stuff. I find it really interesting. So reading about his time while Neil and Buzz were hopping around the moon was pretty cool.
That's pretty interesting, man. I'll look into it in the upcoming weeks.
So this week, I know last week on this we talked about a little bit more serious conversation. It was about money, and we had a really good conversation. A lot of people reached out to us and said for the most part, money does turn us. The biggest sentiment I got from most people was finding the balance of saving for your future while enjoying your present.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think us, most people, not just in our 20s, but every age, we struggle with that because society always tells us save for later, but then you're supposed to have fun in the present because a future is not always promised. But I think a lot of people agreed with that, and it was a good conversation all around.
That's amazing that people are responding onto it,
Exactly.
and that they're sharing with us.
Exactly. But this week, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to talk about a fun topic, one of my favorite things to do in my
Oh,
free time.
what is it, Brishang? What are we talking about this week?
We're going to Hollywood. Not movies this time, but TV shows. So not just Hollywood, but Bollywood, whatever. Every country has their own Bollywood in a sense. So we're going to be talking about TV shows.
As I love TV.
First of all, let's I love these questions. Name your top 3 TV shows of all time.
Oh my god, this is so hard, especially because there's just like the ones that you're watching recently, and you're like, oh, those are my favorite shows, but then you're like, wait, I still like some that I've watched like long time ago. So how would they compare? So that's a very difficult question. Um, but I would say, for my favorite TV shows, are we including reality TV into this, or are we putting that in a different category for another time?
Honestly, just tell me your top 3 and explain to me what they're about and get me hooked onto them if I'm already not hooked onto them.
All right, sounds good. So number one will be Schitt's Creek. I found it hilarious. This millionaire family, and then they lose everything, and they have to go to this little motel in a little town, and it is just like hilarious. Like every single one of the characters is so funny, and there's just so many like unique moments. That I think it was like such a great Canadian show. I love it so much. I love Schitt's Creek. Then I would say another one that is like on my top. I would say The Office. I
That's a classic one.
I can never get enough of The Office. Like I can rewatch and rewatch, and I cannot get enough. And now with like Angela and Jenna doing their podcast about The Office, I was like, oh my god, I'm reliving every single episode I've watched so far. And I don't know how many times I've watched every episode, but The Office is a classic, and I absolutely love it. So this one is a reality TV show that first it was very unique and all of that, and then it became a little bit mainstream. So I love RuPaul's Drag Race. So it is just like this concept of like a reality TV competition that is based around drag. So for all of you out there who do not know what drag is, it is just people dressing up as like the opposite gender, or like like to express themselves. So usually, like with RuPaul's Drag Race, it is mainly either men or non-binary people or transgender people now that dress up as female impersonators in a certain way. I think that was the best way to describe it. And then it's very queer focused, kind of like going through the different life experiences as they're in a competition and different challenges, which is a lot of fun, I would say, but it is definitely like I watch it religiously whenever there's a new season. The day that it's out, I'm religiously watching it as it goes through.
I think you mentioned that RuPaul's Drag Race the season just ended, right?
Yeah, the grand finale happened like on last Friday, so not the 30th, but the one before that. So I would say it will be the 23rd or the 24th. Yeah, it ended, and I'm super happy with the winner. I love Simone. She was gorgeous and fabulous throughout the entire season. So yeah, I would say those are my top three because I know I can always go back and rewatch them, and I think that's what makes them some of my faves. How about you, Brishang? What are your top three?
This is a tough question. I put myself on the spot with this, but you know what? I think I can narrow it down to 3. I watch a lot of like not these days. I think I've kind of tone down my Netflix watching, because Netflix, the quality goes up and down. Sometimes there's amazing movies and TV shows. Sometimes there's not as good,
Mm-hmm.
Recently, the one that I did watch and finish from Netflix was Queen's Gambit. I don't know if
Okay.
you've seen it, but it was really good. It's it's a chess. It's the main topic of the show is chess, hence the name Queen's Gambit. It's kind of a playing style,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really good show. Like, even if you don't know anything about chess, they do a really good job of like explaining everything. And the main character, she like plays phenomenally, the character and like chess. So I think if you haven't seen that, watch already. But my top three TV shows of all time have to be Fringe, The Mentalist, and Black Mirror.
Mm.
Now, they're very similar in the fact I mean, The Mentalist and Fringe, they're more like crime dramas,
Yes.
whereas Black Mirror, the alternative universes with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Fringe, I first watched in 2013, so it has 5 seasons. And I started watching towards the end of season 5 because I saw it on TV, but then I went back and rewatched everything. It's a science fiction TV show created by J.J. Abrams, who's pretty famous
Yes.
in the movie and TV industry. So it's a scientific crime drama. So just like Black Mirror, how there's different concepts, Fringe has an overarching theme, but each episode is different in the sense there's 4 or 5 main characters, and in CSI there's like a crime that happens and they have to go solve it. Well, in Fringe, it's more like it's still a crime, but it's more like to do with like scientific things. So like butterflies that attack human beings, or like human beings randomly setting themselves on fire and like dying, and like so like cool concepts like that. I really enjoyed it. The cast consists of Anna Torv, Josh Jackson, and John Noble.
Okay.
And it's a really good watch. It's really easy to watch too. It's really easy to get into. I know some people didn't like it after a while, but for me, I like it was a satisfying ending. I would like it was there was some parts I think they could have done better, but overall it was a pretty good show. Unlike Lost, which J.J. Abrams also created, Lost started off so good, but then ended pretty bad, I would say. I mean, they did what they could have done. I mean, same thing with a lot of shows. They could have done everything a little bit better, but
Yeah.
I mean, Lost was still pretty good. I'm not going to complain. For my second, like these aren't in order because I can't. That's one thing I can't pick. It's these three. I don't know which I would put. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Mentalist is pretty much your run of the mill crime show, except there's the main character played by Simon Baker, who's an Australian accent. He plays this mentalist who can read other people's minds. Not really,
Mm-hmm.
like he's good, really good at those micro expressions and just reading people. I'm not gonna spoil any of these shows because they're like these shows. If you haven't seen them already, they're amazing shows. So make sure you watch it. But something happens in his past, so he can end up helping the CBI, which is a fictional California Bureau of Investigation, and it's really good. Like this is one of the shows I can rewatch all the time because I'm just so invested in the characters. And I kid you not, I think I've seen this show like 3, 4 times, and I never do that with shows. Like once I finish it, once I don't watch it back, right?
Yes.
And lastly, Black Mirror. I think we all know Black Mirror, the sci-fi anthology. Each story is different, and I think a lot of people liked this show and still do. Like obviously, the last season was kind of meh, but overall, like the concepts are really cool. Like because some of the things could happen in the next 10, 15 years. It's not that far away. The biggest one I can think of is Nosedive, where people are ranked based on their or they're ranked based on their social rating. So people rate each other on their behavior and things like that, and which we kind of do right now anyway. Like Uber or like Yelp, we rate people based on how they perform.
Yes.
So it's like it's this. Although some of the stories are far fetched, and in the future, like 10, 20 years ago, if you were told me robotic walking dogs were going to be a thing, I would have laughed at you. But now we see like Boston. I think Boston Dynamics is a company that makes different robotics. Those dogs or those walking robots. So I mean, some of the things aren't scary, but they could happen in our lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's just it's just like different concepts and like where you can take your mind. That's something I enjoy about some of those shows.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the coolest things is I love these like scientific and like crime shows where it puzzles your mind, right? Like we've talked about before, like I really dig those mind-bending movies where whether it's like Inception or newly released Tenant. Same thing with TV shows. I really like those ones that make you really think, and so definitely Fringe, Mentalist, and Black Mirror are my top three, no doubt. I mean, we can agree on some of the other good shows like Breaking Bad. I think Breaking Bad was probably one of the greatest shows ever, and that's
Yes.
probably one of the most like satisfying endings. Like it just ended so nicely, and there's not a lot of shows you can say about that, right? Like where the end was from start to finish, it was amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. It was such a good, like it was well constructed and they finished it where they needed to finish it.
Exactly. Unlike TV shows like Lost, where it kind of went off the rails, or like even Game of Thrones, like that last season was. I mean, I like before the last season or last two seasons came out, Game of Thrones was honestly one of my favorite shows of all time, and I think that a lot of people echoed that sentiment. But once that last season came out and things hit
Yeah.
the fan, it was just not fun for me, man.
Well, it's just like they took away everything, like everything that they built up into, right? And like they went into this thing in which they're like everything is based on the books. So when you're trying to do these things in the production, then like fans do know what really should happen and what to expect. One, based on like the previous seasons, and two, do you have your in a certain way your canon, which is the books.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting to see how when the sixth and seventh books come out, if he ever finishes it, we'll see how different it is from the TV shows, and we'll see if the book readers win or the TV watchers win, right?
That's absolutely fair. And like another one of those shows that just keeps on going and going and going. Like I love Grey's Anatomy. Like I like the first couple of seasons. I would say all the way up probably until season. I would say I don't even know in which season they are right now. But I would say at least until season 11 or 12. I will watch religiously. Like I will watch every episode, watch a couple of the earlier seasons because they're fantastic. Like the cast is amazing in those seasons, but now I kind of like just lost track of it because they just keep on like I just feel like don't get me wrong, Shonda is like amazing. Like every single one of her shows, they're very good shows. They're very like engaging. They really grab your attention. But I just feel Grace has been going for such a long period of time that I'm just like, what else could happen in Grace? Like, what else do you have to explore still in this medical drama? But people keep on watching.
Yeah, that's the same with like Criminal Minds. I used to love Criminal Minds, and I watch it religiously. Like that's probably one of my favorite crime dramas of all time. But after a while, it just got not repetitive, but after a while, it just got like kind of boring almost. Where casts were coming in and out, and some of the good characters that I liked left, or so it's kind of like, do I still want to watch this? Like no, so I haven't really caught up with the last couple of seasons. But it's still a good show. Like I'll still watch it, but like it's one of those shows where it's pretty dark at sometimes, right? Like it
Mhm.
gets really dark at times. Some of the episodes like I couldn't watch by myself or like at night because it's dark and twisted, but it's still a really good show.
That's for sure. And kind of like from that, because some of these shows have been going for a very long time, what are some of the shows that you watched before, like when you were in middle school or in high school, that you like really enjoyed at the time?
Two that come to mind right away is Heroes and Prison Break. Both shows I started watching when I was in, I think, late middle school, or was did it? Yeah, I think late middle school, like early high school. Um, and those were fantastic shows. Like it started so amazingly, and it hit the rails really fast. Like I was
Hmm.
most people, including myself, were disappointed at how it went. But like the first season for both shows, like that's during that like high school period. I love to watch all the time. How about you, Andres?
One of my guilty pleasures is Glee. Like I followed every single season, but like any other show, the last two seasons, I'm just like, God, can we just have ended it this early? So I would say Glee. I like from time to time I will watch an episode here and there or listen to their music because some of their covers or mashups are pretty good. So I would say Glee is one of those shows. And the other thing that I grew up with and that I really enjoyed about my middle school and my high school years are telenovelas, because that is part of the Hispanic culture. No matter where you are in Latin America, everyone knows telenovelas. Even people like Latin people living anywhere around the world, like or in the States or things like that. Telenovelas are something we are raised with, and every single day, with no doubt, like around dinner time, because that will be there's kind of like two prime times in like Latin American TV. So like how usually in North America, like the States and Canada, prime time is around between 7 and 10. That's usually your prime time for TV content. Back home, your prime time is actually 2. So one is out like a little bit outside of when kids are finishing classes. So I would say sometime between 2 and 4, 2 and 5, and then your other prime time it's from like 7 until 11. So like the evening time is even of a longer prime time for us. So in those ones they will allot and they will put all the telenovelas. And the thing with telenovelas that differs from all the other TV shows is that TV shows usually release an episode a week. Telenovelas release an episode a day, and they run for at least like usually between 4 or 5 months. So every day there's a new episode, and if you don't watch it, you literally miss a lot of the drama that goes with it. And something I love about them, they're just so over exaggerated. Like the acting sometimes is terrible, like terrible acting, but they're just so dramatic, and the way they go about things. There's just so many memes that come out of it nowadays, but I loved watching them growing up. I think that's where me being enticed by drama and gossip comes from. Is from watching telenovelas religiously every day growing up. And there's just a couple that are pretty memorable in my mind. So one of them was like in elementary school. It was called Rebelde, and it was just about this preppy high school's rich kids and like the like messy drama in this boarding school. So that was a lot of fun, a lot of seasons. Like at least it ran for 2 academic years, which is a long running. And then the other telenovela that I truly, truly enjoy, and this was when I was in high school, it's called Teresa. And it was just the most dramatic, like drama after drama, plot twist after plot twist, and bad acting. The Latin entertainment business is so different than the regular like Hollywood kind of style of business, but it's part of our culture, and I do not deny being a fan of them.
So I'm gonna push you back even further into your childhood. What were your some favorite TV shows growing up when you were like a kid?
Oh my god! When it comes to TV shows, when I was a kid, so back again to the telenovelas. They're telenovelas specifically made for kids. So like literally the plot will be around kids, so that's what I will watch. Like I really really like a lot of my childhood will be that will be those telenovelas made for kids, which I will watch after school. And then there were a couple of TV shows or reality TV shows or like kind of like Family Feud and all of that that I will watch religiously. There was one that was at 7 a.m. on Sundays, and I will like my brothers and I will wake up and religiously watch that. But because I did live in Montreal for a year as part of my childhood, then after we went back to Mexico, I will want to. I really liked watching the Teletoon kind of like cartoons and TV shows because they were fun. Love Reese's. Reese's is one of my favorite like cartoons are out there. And then oh my god, something came to my mind and I completely forgot. Um, so yeah, how about you, Brishang? What did you like enjoying as a kid?
Well, I'm gonna give you a real blast from the past. So my different phases. When I used to live in Nepal, Cartoon Network was a big thing, right? So we used to get Cartoon Network in like a couple in it's not even cable TV, but like the local TV. Cartoon Network was one of the networks I was given. And growing up, I used to watch Powerpuff Girls, Courage the Cowardly Dog, Dexter's Laboratory, Ed, Ed, Eddie, like Johnny Bravo. Those shows. I used to love those shows, and even now, like like cartoons nowadays, I like cringe when I watch it. Like the only cartoons that I like nowadays is like SpongeBob,
Mhm.
because some of the memes from SpongeBob is pretty relevant. But like cartoon shows from back in the day, those like I love those, and I could still watch them now. And even like shows on Nick, I think like the Wild Thornberry. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's such a good like cartoon show. It's like really educational.
That is fair. No, oh, I remember what I was like. We had this channel like on national TV, uh, that they had a lot of TV shows like made for kids, like during like the kids' prime time, and one of them was called Tales of Broca Street, which is just like a direct translation from the French because it's actually like originated by tales written by a French author, which is Pierre Paris, and the original title is Le Conte de la Rue Broca. So yeah, and they were so fantastic. I love those tales, and like they really narrated them so nicely, and the animation to it are so good. Um,
Mhm.
so I would say like that. Like if I were to watch them, like on YouTube or something, I will still like watch the entire like all the series of that because I was like a lot into a lot of educational. Like I was a very geeky, nerdy. I'm still am very nerdy kind of person, but as a kid, I was a lot driven more to that and drama and gossip. So maybe I just keep on being the same person, Brashank.
I think you're the same person as you were when you were younger.
Probably.
But yeah, so like those Cartoon Network shows, and even like the Nickelodeon shows from back in the day, like Hey Arnold or like Rocco, the Rugrats or the Wild Thornberries. Like I love those shows. But then before that, before we actually had like cable, so back in when I lived in the States, we used to get PBS Kids. So
Hmm.
those shows were amazing. Like one of my favorite shows to watch on PBS Kids was like Zoom or like Cyber Chase. I don't know if you've heard of these shows, but like or even like Arthur. Like Arthur is amazing. Like I love Arthur.
Oh,
It's such a like
Arthur is
great
such.
show.
I love Arthur.
And then one of the more low key ones was called Liberty Kids and Redwall. So two of them. Liberty Kids was about the American Revolution, but they made it into an animated show, and it was like super cool to watch. Redwall is based on the books. I don't know if you've ever read those books growing up, but they're by Brian Jacques, and they're about this mouse. Like all the characters are like different kind of rodents, and they have different like it's like almost like a medieval rodent show.
Hmm.
Really cool. And then Clifford, can't forget like Clifford or like Sesame Street.
Oh my God,
But
we're
then
dating ourselves there.
and then going back even further, so like when I lived in New Zealand, after school, the four shows that I used to watch all the time, like after, because as soon as school would be done, I'd go home. My school was only a 5-minute walk from home, and I'd go home, watch Pokemon, Digimon, Dragon Ball Z, and Transformers, like the original animated shows, and like those were it. Like I loved watching those. I would watch those religiously.
I completely forgot about those shows until you mentioned them. I was like, you know what? I also really enjoy watching those shows. And this is the thing. Growing up, like after, I'm just like, oh my God, I will never watch anime. There's no way you can make me watch anything of that. And then I was having a conversation with a friend, and they were like, you know that Pokemon, Dragon Ball, and all of that is considered anime, right? I was like, there's a difference. And they're like, no, it is still considered the same. You might not be into like the other kinds of anime, but you still watch anime when you're watching those shows. I'm just like, I'll give you that, but I am upset that you're correct about that fact. And now that I have to accept that I have watched in the past anime.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've heard lots of people like anime, so I haven't seen like Naruto or Death Note. Like I've heard good things about them, but I never watched them. Maybe I'll give it a chance, right?
Yeah, there's never nothing wrong, and that's the other different like nice thing about when it comes to TV shows because with movies a lot of like get a little bit more into it, but movies have really follow like like they really follow this like the different standards of like where they're being produced, right? And usually
Hmm.
those are like the big entertainment like areas and businesses such like Hollywood, Bollywood, and like wherever else there's like big movie productions. But then when it comes to TV shows, what I really enjoy is like every country has their own way of entertaining. So like how like what we have in Latin America, it is unique to us. Like they're like, sometimes if they like somewhere around the world will try to recreate a telenovela, they will never be able to do that. Like the drama does not translate well into different languages based on what it's given. But then for example, Japanese culture has a different entirety difference, like when it comes to TV shows. And I don't know if you watch some of their competition funny videos of what happens on like those type of like TV competition shows. They're so funny and hilarious. I don't understand a thing of what they're talking or anything, but just watching them just cracks me every single time. But then you go to like Europe and their TV is very different. Like even when it comes to comedy, right? American comedy and British comedy are so different. And there's lots of people that I've met that's like, I don't really like British comedy, or like they don't like Mr. Bean. And I was like, how can you not like him? He's hilarious. But I have to remember, not everyone is into that kind of comedy, but a lot of people are more into like the American style of comedy. So that's what I love about TV shows and around the world. It's very different depending on where it's produced and who the cast is. So I'm so glad that we have such a variety of experiences and have experienced TV from like different countries.
Yeah, now that you brought up British shows, one recommendation I have is called Taskmaster. If you haven't seen it, you can watch it all on YouTube. They released episodes on YouTube, but
Okay.
it's a British comedy show where it's a game show. So there's two hosts, and they get five the comedians to come in and do unique and like ridiculous tasks throughout the season.
Hmm.
And it's like it's a show that rewards like outside the thinking. So that if it gives you a task, you can do it straight up as it says. But if you do it like a unique way, or like a funny way, or like a really stupid way, you get like points and stuff, and you compete until the end of the season. And honestly, it's probably one of the best like British shows I've seen. It's really funny.
Oh yeah, like I do enjoy a lot British comedy, and sometimes like the thing with British comedy is like sometimes you have to get into it and you're required to do some thinking, which is something I really appreciate. Whereas like no shade being thrown to American comedy, but it's literally given to you. Like the joke is right there. Like you don't have to do that much digging into trying to find the joke. Whereas British comedy, you have to sometimes do a little bit of thinking and then laugh out loud for that. But I'll definitely
I
look into
mean,
that because I love British, like I love British comedy.
that's one of my pet peeves with like sitcoms where they have like the forced track laughters.
Hmm.
Where I at one point I did enjoy Big Bang Theory, or like Young Sheldon. Okay, not Young Sheldon, but like Big Bang Theory I really enjoyed, and even like The Office, like I really enjoy. Like The Office, I mean, there's no forced laughter there, but like Big Bang Theory is notorious for this, where they have like, or even like Two and a Half Men, where they have the forced laughter track, and I really don't like that. It's like if people find the jokes funny, they're gonna laugh. You don't need to
Yes,
do that. Even like I think Friends has like the forced laughter at times too, right?
I know. There's such a big debate with Friends that it's just one of those shows that has a big controversy. Either people love it or people hate it.
And but yeah, I think honestly I enjoyed a lot of shows, and here's one show. I don't know if you ever watched it. This is like the true ones know this, but did you ever watch Legends of the Hidden Temple?
I think I'm just gonna Google it just to see if there's a visual remember like I can like if there's a visual memory that comes up.
While you do that, so for people at home listening, Legends of the Hidden Temple, it's like a obstacle course that was on Nickelodeon back in the day, I believe. And it's pretty much like Ninja Warrior, except it's little kids going through this obstacle as a team or as a group trying to win. And it was a good show. Like I used to watch it back in the day, and it was a really good show.
Yeah, no, I might have confused it with a different show, but no, I never watched it. Didn't grow up in here, so that's my excuse for Shank.
Hey, I didn't grow up here either. I watched this in Nepal.
Well, it didn't make it to Mexico unless you had cable TV. Yeah, like a lot of like that's the thing. Like a lot of like the American shows when I was growing up, or like Canadian Teletoon, Cartoon Network, and all of that, you will like unless they were like put into like the national networks, the only way to get them would have been through cable at the very beginning of cable TV.
Yeah, I think for us, we got it through India. So like all these shows the Nick ones or the Cartoon Network ones, or even back in the day, Looney Tunes. Like when
Hmm.
I first came to Nepal, it was in English, but then eventually they got the Indian version, so it was all dubbed in Indian or like Hindi, and I didn't really understand it, so I kind of like grew up and then later watched on YouTube or like Netflix. But I think it was pretty cool getting the shows.
It was a lot of fun, and I would say with cartoons, those are the only ones that I appreciate them being dubbed, because like it really doesn't matter, they're cartoons, and the jokes can land. Like if they do that right dubbing and translation, the jokes will land. But when it comes to movies and TV shows, I appreciate watching them in the language that they were created, like they were produced in, because the script and everything is written a certain way. So I usually do not watch TV shows or movies, like outside of their original language, unless of course it's a language that I don't speak. Then I'll watch it dubbed.
Yeah, exactly. I think we brought this up in one of the previous episodes where we talked about La Casa de Papel or Money Heist, where the Spanish version was definitely better than the English version, or like Dark, which is better in German than English.
Yeah, you're just missing on those Spanish jokes, Brashank, and they cannot be translated. I'm
Well,
sorry.
it's another reason to learn another language, right?
I know, right? Languages are fantastic, but that's not today's topic.
Exactly. Well, we should probably start wrapping up the show. What are you looking forward to this week, Andres?
Well, what I'm looking forward, Brashank, is I'm off for 2 weeks, so
Oh,
literally doing nothing. I'm just gonna chill, play Switch, watch Netflix, enjoy the nice weather if there is nice weather, and that's about it. I'm really disconnecting from everything. Like, of course, I'm still gonna be on Instagram because I'm addicted to that. But other than that, I'm literally disconnecting. Like, you can still reach out at me and everything, but I'm not plugging myself. Like the only reason I'll be using my computer is to stream movies, documentaries, and TV shows.
you know what? That's perfectly fine. If you have 2 weeks off, you got to turn off that work laptop, turn off that work phone, and just have time for yourself, Sherlock, and the gym, and just take care of yourself.
Exactly. That's probably what I'll do. And probably do some reading. I haven't found the time to actually sit down and read a book, which was one of my New Year's goals. So I will actually take some of this time to at least sit down and start a book. How about your Brashank? What are you looking forward for this week?
Um, Not just this week, but the upcoming weeks. I think Saskatchewan has done a pretty good job of vaccinating people. I think we're down to anyone older than 40, can go get a vaccine. Both my parents have got their first doses already, so that's exciting.
That's
Um,
nice.
yeah, so hopefully, it'll be our turn pretty soon, which I'm looking forward to because that's just one step closer to, being COVID free, I guess. Not completely COVID free, but one step closer to the end.
We're slowly getting there.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so that's what I'm looking forward to. And then, in obviously other parts of the world, like India and Nepal, all of the situation's not too great right now. So hopefully, US and other parts of the world send the
Mm-hmm.
vaccines and the PPE and required, things to help them through this tough time.
Oh yeah, they're like difficult and very challenging situations. So if anyone, like if you feel like you can help in any way, please do so. We're all in this together globally. So any help will really be appreciated to any of those countries.
Exactly. So let's do our part and continue cheering each other up. Because last year when COVID started, one of the sayings that everyone said was we're all in this together. But lately it doesn't really seem that way because everyone's just doing their own thing, and it feels like people haven't really supported each other. And I think we need to go back to the root and say, we're all in this together and let's actually like support each other.
Exactly. We're let's support everyone.
All right, that is all for this week, Andreas. If you want to get in touch with us, you know the drill. Our Instagram handle is a Two Average Brown Bros podcast. Reach out to us, talk to us about your favorite TV shows. Any topics that you want us to bring up, we'll bring it up. If you just want to talk to us, let us know. If you want to come on the podcast, eventually we'll do that too. I think we're at a part where we've hit 8 episodes, so 2 months we're in a good spot to potentially bring people in and get their opinions on different things we talk about, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you're interested, shoot us a DM and then we'll start working a little bit out the logistics of what that may look like. But yeah, we're very excited for how far this has come, and we're really interested in kind of like hearing from you. So if you have anything you want to share about today's episode, if you want to share with us what TV shows you're currently watching so that we can binge them with you, or episodes or TV shows that remind you of your childhood or when you were growing up, don't hesitate to slide into our DMs and talk about it, because we read through our DMs and we actually like getting in touch with you. But that's it for this week's episode. So, like Brishak said, you know the drill. But other than that, we'll catch you next Monday.
See ya.
Bye.